Hello and welcome. My name is Amanda and this is my channel, Her Pacific Northwest Washington Life. And today I wanted to share with you my plans and career pathway for the O.W.L.s Magical Readathon Year 3. I can't believe this is already the third year of the Readathon. I've participated in every single year and every single like O.W.L, NEWT, and typically like the December-y Christmas themed one that goes on as well, and other extra credits as well. So this year I have decided that I want to pursue a career of alchemist. The first year I did wand maker, last year I did magizoologist, and this year I just feel like alchemist is the pathway for me. This is one of the career pathways that is the hardest to obtain, I guess. You have to sit all 12 of the O.W.L.s, and then there's a lot of subjects that you have to get an outstanding in for the NEWTs. I honestly don't know why I'm doing this to myself this year, because the O.W.L.s run the whole month of April, and I'm actually getting married in April. So I really don't have the time to stress about reading 12 books, but it's the career pathway that really caught my attention, and I'm gonna go for it. Worst case scenario, I don't manage to sit all 12 of my O.W.L.s and I have to pick something else, and that's totally fine. So this year the hashtag for finding anything Magical Readathon related is Magical Readathon 2020. I think there's typically also a hashtag for each of the readathons, at least for last year and the year before there was, so I'll be using O.W.L.s Readathon 2020 as well when I post pictures of my TBRs and just pictures of the books that I've read throughout the month. So I think that's all the information you really need. I will of course leave G's announcement video linked down in the description box below. It has everything you need to know of all the things that I've forgotten in a lot more detail. Really, this is just what I plan to read for the readathon. So there are 12 different prompts. There are 12 subjects that you can sit or go through at Hogwarts. So there is a prompt for each different subject. I have it written out on a 2-page spread here in my planner. So I'm just gonna go through. The first subject is Ancient Runes, and this is the Heart Rune, and it's to read a book with either heart on the cover or in the title. And for this I'm picking up an audiobook called Hearts of Resistance by Soraya M. Lane. I went on a buying binge on Kindle a couple months ago and bought like 4 or 5 of her books with the audible narration. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to read this one as a physical book or if I'm going to read it as a Kindle book. Sorry, a physical book or an audio book. We'll see when I decide to pick it up. If I've already got a physical book going, it'll probably be an audio book. But basically with my TBR, I tried to do a mix of audiobooks, physical books, and Kindle books. Audiobooks for throughout the day, doing chores, those sorts of things. Physical books for picking up and reading whenever, and Kindle mainly for reading in bed, because I prefer to read a Kindle book in bed than a physical book in bed, just because I have to use my cell phone light as a book light when I read in bed, and it's really bright. So that's more information than you need to know, but Hearts of Resistance is my first pick. The second subject is Arrhythmia, and this is Magical Qualities of 2, or to pick a book that's outside your favorite genre. I am picking Vampire Knight Volume 5 for this. I read a lot of fantasy and historical fiction, but I'm still pretty new into the whole manga scene, so I'm up to the 5th manga in the series out of 19, so I just figured it'll be a nice quick read, a prompt that I can knock out of the way pretty quickly, and I'm interested to see where the storyline goes. So we've got that. The third subject is Astronomy, and this is night classes. So read a book mostly at night. This is where the Kindle comes in specifically. I've got two options for this. I'm not entirely sure if I'm gonna have one of these books already read before April starts or not, which is why I have two. I've been reading the A Court of Thorns and Roses series with my friend Darshell at not Break Even Books, that's my friend Eric, at Books and Planners. And we, for the month of March, are supposed to be reading A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is the novella. I'm not entirely sure if either of us have the time to read this in March, so it might be pushed off until April, which is totally fine. If I read that book by Sarah J. Maas, the other option I have is Veins of Magic by Emma Hamm, which is the second book in the Otherworld series, I believe. Both of them I own on my Kindle, so it doesn't matter which one I pick up. I'm just going to pick up one of them. The next prompt is Care of Magical Creatures, and this time we are focusing on hippogriffs specifically. So the prompt is to pick a book with a creature with a beak on the cover. And for this, I have Rebel Spring picked out. I might also switch this to Blanca y Roja by Anna Marie McLemore because there's a swan on that, and I really need to read that book. It was my most anticipated for 2018, I believe is when it came out, and I still haven't read it. But also, I started rereading the Fallen Kingdom series by Morgan Rhodes last year so that I can finish off the series, and I don't think I've picked up a book since August when I read Fallen Kingdoms for the NEWTs. So there is a, it's a golden, I can't remember if it's a golden eagle or a hawk or what, but there's a bird right there and he has a beak. The fifth prompt is charms, and we are specifically working on Lumos Maxima. So the prompt for this is to read a book with a white cover. And this year I'm participating in the Cosmere read along that is being hosted by a number of different booktubers. The book picked for April is The Final Empire, which is the first book in the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. So I'm gonna read this chunky beast. I own a couple of these books in the UK paperback because I like paperbacks, but also I really like the UK covers. I will be listening to this on Audible though. But what I found while listening to Elantris is that I didn't have a physical book at that time, and I was confusing a couple characters, and I really wanted to see like the spelling of certain names and places and things like that so that I could commit it to my memory better. So it will be nice to have the physical book so I can follow along as I'm being read to. But I'm really looking forward to jumping into another Brandon Sanderson book. The next class is Defense Against the Dark Arts, and the prompt for this is Grindylows, or we're specifically studying Grindylows, and the prompt is to read a book set at sea or on the coast. And for this, I plan to listen to Salt to the Sea by Readathon. I have not read a book by her before, so I'm really looking forward to jumping into this one. I believe this is either a World War I or a World War II historical fiction novel, but I'm not entirely sure. So I'm really looking forward to that because I really like fantasy and historical fiction. The next subject is divination, and this is the third eye. So the prompt is to put a random number generator on your TBR and have it pick your book. I don't have a book picked for this yet. I will be weekly vlogging, so I will do it when I get to that prompt and want to pick my book. But basically, I've written out a list of 10 books that are potentials for this prompt. All of them are the next book that I have to read in a series so that I can continue on a series. So I've got 1 through 10 here. The first book is Lyrial by, no, that's not going to be it because I have that written down as a prompt. It might be, I can't remember what the fourth book in the Old Kingdom series is by Garth Nix, but it'll be that book. I think it might be Clariel. I've also got Before by Anna Todd. The Prisoner of Heaven by Carlos Ruiz-Zafón, Fallen in Love by Lauren Kate, Gathering Darkness, which is the third book in the Fallen Kingdom series by Morgan Rhodes, You Know You Love Me, which is the second book after the prequel in the Gossip Girl series by Cicely von Ziegler, Written in My Own Heart's Blood, which I'm hoping it doesn't land on that. It's the last book I need to read. It's this one here, of the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon. And I do want to finish the series. I just don't want to read it in April because it's a 45-hour long audiobook and it's really going to slow down my reading. So fingers crossed we don't get to that one. The eighth book I have is The Plastic Magician by Charlie N. Holmberg. I have Heartless by Gail Carriger, and then the 10th potential book is Vampire Night Volume 6 by Matsuri Hino. So we'll see. I think I'm going to leave divination to the last prompt that I pick up for this readathon, just because I am reading a lot of series throughout for the regular prompts, and a lot of those would be continuation after I've potentially finished this book for a different prompt. So I think divination will have to wait till last for me, but we'll see. The next course is Herbology, and for this one it is Mimbulus Mimbletonia, and the prompt is to read a book with a title that starts with M. And for this I have planned to read The Master Magician by Charlie N. Holmberg, which is the third book in the, I think it's just called the Paper Magician series. Then we have History of Magic, and the theme around this is Witches Hunts. And this is to read a book that features witches or wizards. And for this, another read-along that I'm participating in is the Lord of the Read-Along, being hosted by Christy over at Books and Jams, and Sarah at Sarah's Nightstand. The book for April and May, which I'll just read in April, is The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm buddy reading these. This is a reread for me and my buddy, who is Rainy over at Rainy Day Reads. So we should be able to fly through these. I think we're both listening to these on audiobook, this reread. So again, we'll fly through that, no problem, but I'll just have to coordinate what week she wants to read that. The next prompt is Muggle Studies, and this is just from a Muggle's perspective. So that's basically to read a contemporary. And what I have is the first book after the prequel in the Gossip Girl series, which is just called Gossip Girl by Cicely von Ziegler. My mom bought these for me like 10 years ago, the whole set, and I got part of the way through. I think I got through like 5 or 6 books and then never finished them, probably because of college or some other silly thing. And I want to do a reread because I know she spent a bit of money to buy me all these books, so I at least want to read all of them before potentially unhauling them. I'm not entirely sure. They take up one whole cube of my bookshelf, so it would free up a lot of space, and they don't age well, so not really sure that if there's potential kids in the future that I would really want them picking those up, but we'll see. And then second to last course is Potions, and this is a shrinking solution. So to read a book under 150 pages, and I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of books that are under 200 pages. So I struggled with this one. I had a couple options, but I let Skylar pick, and he chose The Time Machine by O.W.L.s for me. I've never read this before. It has, there's an epilogue. It has 126 pages, so I'm hoping it'll be fairly quick, but we'll see how that goes. And then the last prompt, or the last course, my books almost fell, is Transfiguration, and this is an Animagus lecture. So the prompt is to read a book that includes shapeshifting. I am currently rereading Sabriel by Garth Nix, which is the first book in the Aborzen series, and I think I'll have time to finish Lyriel before the readathon starts. So I think my pick for this is going to be A Porzen, which is the third book in the trilogy, and then there's like a point 5. I don't know where they fall in, but we've got Clariel and Golden Hand, which I had mentioned. Clariel might be one of my options for the random number generator, but I'm not entirely sure. So I plan to finish out this series. This was bought for me by Skylar 5 years ago for my birthday, and I only read Sabriel. I never got to finish the series. I mean, I had plenty of opportunities, I just never finished it. So now that I'm doing a reread, it'll be easier for me to just kind of binge read the rest of the series. So that's what I plan to do with this. I'm also probably going to listen to this on audiobook. So I think that's it for my O.W.L.s this year. I'm not planning to get any of the, I don't remember what they're called. They're kind of like certificates, just because I already have enough on my plate, and I just really want to be an alchemist. So we'll see how this goes. I think I'll be able to manage with a mix of audiobooks and physical books. I've got a lot of crafting left to do for my wedding, so definitely going to utilize that time to listen to audiobooks, and I think it'll be just fine. So I would really love to know if you are planning to participate in the Year 3 Magical Readathon for the O.W.L.s, and if you are, I would really love to know what career pathway you're choosing, and if by chance we have picked any of the same books to read throughout the month. So please let me know in the comments below, and I will chat with you there until my next video. Bye!